Have you ever wondered why sleep escapes you, even on nights when everything seems calm on the outside? You're not alone. Many people, even those who live kind, honest, and thoughtful lives, lie awake for hours, battling racing thoughts, regrets, or an aching sense of emptiness. It's a paradox that troubles many. Why do we, despite all our efforts to be good and mindful, struggle so much to find rest? On the other hand, Buddhist monks, living in silence, simplicity, and deep awareness, often enjoy peaceful, uninterrupted sleep. What's their secret? Is it only because of their surroundings, or is there something deeper at work? Something in the way they relate to their thoughts, emotions, and the karmic weight they carry? In this video, we explore this question with sincerity, wisdom, and calm. Through the lens of traditional Buddhist teachings, we'll uncover what truly disrupts our rest, why even good people can suffer from sleepless nights, and what spiritual lessons lie hidden in insomnia. This journey is not about quick fixes or superficial advice. It's about understanding the deeper patterns of the mind, the law of karma, and the path to inner peace. If you're someone who's searching for emotional clarity, spiritual growth, and a peaceful way to live, especially in the later stages of life, this reflection may offer you comfort, perspective, and perhaps even the sleep you've been longing for. Let us begin with the first and perhaps most surprising truth: why good people still can't sleep, the karmic layers behind insomnia. At first glance, this may seem unfair. You might think, I live a decent life. I don't lie, I don't steal, I try to help others. So why do I still struggle with sleepless nights? Buddhism gently invites us to look deeper. While living ethically brings great merit, it does not immediately erase the deeper layers of karmic residue carried within our consciousness. In Buddhist teachings, even virtuous people, those who are kind, honest, and mindful, may still suffer from restlessness and anxiety, because their suffering doesn't always originate in this life alone. Instead, it can arise from samskaras, the mental impressions or karmic imprints left behind by our past actions, words, and thoughts. These samskaras act like invisible threads, subtly pulling our minds into unrest. Think of them as grooves etched deep into the psyche. You may have changed your habits today, but the energy from an unwholesome act or unresolved emotion from years ago, or even from a previous life, can still ripple through your present experience, often manifesting during quiet moments like nighttime. This doesn't mean you are being punished. In Buddhism, karma is never personal or vengeful. It is simply a reflection of the law of cause and effect. When we plant seeds, they will eventually grow, sometimes long after we've forgotten planting them. Sleeplessness, then, might not be a failure of morality but a spiritual invitation. An alarm bell from the subconscious that something is surfacing, something long buried that wants to be seen and released. Buddhist monks train themselves to listen to such moments rather than resist them. Before bed, they engage in nightly self-reflection, asking questions like, did I speak harshly today? Did I act from anger? Did I cling too tightly to something I should have let go? This process, known as atapa, is the effort to purify the mind through daily awareness. It's not about guilt, but about clarity, burning away subtle impurities over time. If you can adopt a similar practice, sleepless nights may become moments of awakening rather than suffering. When you lie awake, instead of thinking, why can't I sleep, ask yourself, what inside me is still unsettled? What pain, regret, or fear have I not yet faced with compassion? This question alone can open the door to profound healing. And now, let me share a real story from the Buddha's life that brings this lesson to life. In the time of the Buddha, there was a kind and generous layman named Anathapindika, known for his unmatched support of the monastic community. He was deeply loved, not just for his charity but for his warmth and humility. Yet, in the final days of his life, he was struck by great physical suffering and found it difficult to sleep. Despite his pure lifestyle and many good deeds, he was tormented at night. Sensing his pain, the Buddha sent his foremost disciple, Venerable Sariputta, to comfort him. Instead of offering empty reassurances, Sariputha reminded Anathapindika that suffering can still arise due to past karmic conditions, even for good people, and that wisdom lies in seeing this without resistance. He guided him through a deep contemplation on impermanence, non-attachment, and letting go of even the subtlest forms of clinging. Anathapindika wept, not from sorrow, but from a profound realization of truth. That night, he found peace. Not because his body was healed, but because his heart finally let go. This story is not just history, it is a teaching. It tells us that when we can face our pain with mindfulness and courage, even the deepest karmic unrest can begin to dissolve. So if you find yourself awake at night, restless despite your best intentions, remember, you are not broken. You are being shown something sacred, something worth meeting with compassion. Sleeplessness can become a gate, not a wall, when we look at it through the lens of Buddhist wisdom. Let us now move into the second insight, the silent mind, how Buddhist monks sleep peacefully, and what we can learn. In a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and mental clutter, sleep has become a battle for many. But Buddhist monks, living in simplicity and silence, often sleep with remarkable peace. Why? Because they have trained the mind to be still, not just during meditation, but throughout their daily life. This section explores how they do it, and what practical steps you can take to invite that same silence into your nights. The peace that Buddhist monks experience is not accidental. It is cultivated through discipline, mindfulness, and a way of living that honors quietude. Unlike the modern person who ends the day scrolling through social media, monks end the day with chanting, reflection, and letting go. In many monasteries, monks avoid all forms of electronic devices. They rise and sleep with the sun. Before bed, they recite verses or mantras, often reflections on impermanence, non-attachment, or loving-kindness. These chants serve not only as spiritual reminders, but also as mental purifiers, sweeping away the debris of the day. Their bedrooms are not cluttered or decorated to impress. They sleep on simple mats or wooden platforms. The body rests easily because the mind is not burdened. Contentment is their pillow. They do not go to sleep thinking about what they lack or comparing themselves to others. They sleep after giving thanks, for the meal they ate, for the people they served, for the chance to practice. These rituals are not magical, they are intentional. And you don't have to become a monk to benefit. Try adopting a monk's sleep habit: silence your phone an hour before bed, dim the lights, chant or listen to calming verses, reflect on the good you did that day, and most importantly, tell your mind, it is safe to rest now. These habits, when done consistently, create a mental atmosphere where sleep comes naturally, not as an escape, but as a gentle return to stillness. And to understand the power of this practice, we can look to the Buddha himself. One beautiful story comes from the time when the Buddha resided in the Jita Grove Monastery. One night, a young monk named Badiya, formerly a royal prince, was overheard repeating joyfully, "Ah, what bliss! Ah, what bliss!" again and again in his sleep. Curious, the senior monks worried he might be dreaming of his past luxurious life as a prince and reported it to the Buddha. But when the Buddha gently asked Badiya about his words, the monk smiled and explained, "Lord, when I was a prince, I lived with fear every night, guards at my doors, threats from rivals, heavy responsibilities, and no peace of mind. But now, even though I have nothing but robes and a bowl, I sleep under the trees with complete ease. I have no fear, no greed, and no need to pretend. That is why I said, 'Ah, what bliss!'" The Buddha nodded in deep approval. This was a perfect example of inner renunciation, letting go of mental burdens. Badiya's peace didn't come from having less, but from clinging to less. His mind, once caught in worldly noise, had become silent. This story teaches us that peaceful sleep is not about our environment, income, or possessions, it is about the state of our mind. A simple life is not always available to everyone, but a silent mind can be cultivated by anyone. So if you are seeking better sleep, don't just change your mattress, change your mental approach to nighttime. Let go. Breathe deeply. Reflect kindly. Turn your bedroom into a space for the soul, not a storage of stress. And remember Buddha's joy, true bliss is the peace of a heart that has nothing to fear and nothing to prove. That is the secret monks have passed down for generations, and it is yours to try tonight. Now we move into the third insight, why your mind talks all night, and how Buddhism teaches us to stop listening. One of the deepest reasons many people lie awake at night is not due to noise, discomfort, or even illness, it is because their own mind won't stop talking. This inner voice, constantly reviewing the day, worrying about tomorrow, replaying old memories, and imagining unlikely scenarios, creates a restless energy that keeps the body tense and the soul unsettled. In Buddhism, this is known as the monkey mind, which jumps from one thought to the next without pause. Rather than trying to silence this chatter with force or frustration, the Buddha taught us to observe the mind gently, as one would watch clouds drifting in the sky. The goal is not to make the mind stop but to loosen our grip on it, to stop identifying with every thought that arises. When we learn to witness thoughts instead of reacting to them, we create space between awareness and thinking, and in that space, peace can begin to grow. To do this in practice, start by anchoring yourself in your breath. Inhale slowly and feel it enter the body, exhale and let go. When a thought arises, don't resist it, just name it softly in your mind, thinking, planning, remembering. Then gently return your focus to the breath. Another technique is body scanning. Shift your attention slowly from the top of your head down to your toes, noticing areas of tension and releasing them with each out-breath. You can also repeat a calming phrase or mantra silently, such as peace or let go, to steady the mind. Keep your environment simple, dim lighting, no screens, no stimulation. Buddhist monks often end their day with chanting or loving-kindness meditation, sending goodwill to all beings before sleep. You can adopt this by reciting silently, "May I be at peace. May all beings be at peace." This softens the heart and settles the mind. If thoughts keep arising, visualize them like leaves floating down a stream, just watch them go. Do not grab them. Do not analyze them. Just let them pass. The more you practice this non-resistance, the less power those thoughts hold. This is not a trick to escape thinking, but a wise way to disidentify from it. The truth is, we suffer not because we think, but because we believe every thought is important or real. Buddhism reminds us, thoughts are just mental formations, not commands, not truths. They come and go like wind. When you stop treating your thoughts like truths, you stop fueling the chatter. In that silence, the body calms, and sleep returns. So, instead of fighting your mind at night, become the kind observer. Watch. Breathe. Relax. And let go. Sleep is not something we chase, it's something that comes when we stop chasing. Let us now reflect on the fourth insight, the karma of sleep, what your sleeplessness might be telling you spiritually. In Buddhism, karma is not punishment or reward, but simply the natural unfolding of cause and effect, actions, intentions, and energies rippling out and returning in some form. When we struggle with sleeplessness, it is easy to approach it purely as a physical or mental inconvenience. But what if, instead, we viewed our insomnia as a teacher, an invitation to turn inward and examine what is truly happening in our inner world? From a spiritual perspective, sleeplessness may not just be about restlessness. It may be pointing us toward unresolved emotions, unbalanced energies, or neglected inner truths. The night is quiet and still, and in that silence, what we have ignored during the day often comes to the surface. That discomfort is not there to harm us, it is there to be seen, acknowledged, and eventually transformed. Karma is not just in our actions but also in our habits of thinking and feeling. If we carry guilt, anger, regret, or anxiety throughout our day, those vibrations do not disappear at night, they echo. And sometimes, insomnia is the body's way of asking us to finally listen. What are you avoiding? What feelings have you pushed away? What patterns have you repeated that now seek resolution? Sleeplessness becomes a mirror. Spiritually, this means that each restless night is not a failure but an opportunity to become more self-aware, more compassionate, more open to change. Buddhism teaches us that mindfulness must reach all areas of our life, including how we fall asleep. If you are wide awake in the dark, ask yourself gently, is this moment trying to tell me something? And not with blame, but with curiosity and care. The lesson might be to simplify, to forgive, to slow down, to let go of control. It might be to finally address something your heart has whispered but your mind has ignored. The energy of sleeplessness may also come from past actions, perhaps a life lived in excess, in imbalance, in constant distraction. But karma is not fixed, it is fluid. The present moment always gives us a new chance to respond differently. So rather than fighting your sleeplessness, sit quietly with it. Breathe with it. Treat it not as an enemy, but as a messenger. Over time, your body will relax when it feels heard. Your mind will settle when it feels safe. Your spirit will rest when it feels aligned. By viewing insomnia as part of your spiritual path, not an obstacle but a pointer, you transform it into a doorway. A doorway into deeper insight, deeper healing, and ultimately, deeper peace. And this shift in perspective may be the first step toward the sleep you have been longing for, not as escape, but as natural harmony returning. Now we arrive at a deeply emotional and transformative angle, the Buddhist way to sleep without guilt, regret, or fear. In the stillness of night, when the world grows quiet and all distractions fade away, many people find themselves facing not just restlessness, but emotional burdens that were ignored during the day. The Buddhist path reminds us that insomnia is often not a physical condition alone, but a mirror of our inner emotional landscape. Guilt for words said in haste, regret over missed opportunities, or fear of what tomorrow may bring, all of these unspoken weights tighten the chest and clutter the mind when we lie down to sleep. This is why so many feel tired yet cannot rest. Their body seeks peace, but their heart is crowded with unresolved emotions. Buddhism offers a gentle but powerful path to healing this. Central to this is the practice of karma nivaranaya, the cleansing or lightening of karmic weight through conscious reflection and ethical living. Each night before sleep, monks and devoted lay people engage in silent contemplation. Did I harm anyone today? Did I speak with harshness? Did I carry jealousy or resentment? This practice is not about self-blame, but self-purification. It's a way to empty the heart of heavy stones and replace them with the seeds of mindfulness and peace. When we take just a few minutes to acknowledge our actions, to forgive ourselves sincerely, and to set the intention to do better, the mind begins to soften. Guilt is no longer a prison, it becomes a teacher. Regret becomes fuel for growth. And fear? It slowly fades as the present moment deepens. The Dhamma teaches us that peace is always available in the now, but only when we release the emotional chains of yesterday and the anxiety of tomorrow. Forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, is not a weakness. It is the highest strength. And forgiveness does not require waiting for someone to say sorry, it begins in our own heart. One of the most powerful yet lesser-known stories from the Buddha's life beautifully illustrates this. Once, a man named Angulimala was feared across the land. He had taken hundreds of lives and was considered a ruthless murderer, collecting the fingers of his victims as trophies. But when he met the Buddha, something extraordinary happened. The Buddha did not scold him or attack him. Instead, he looked into his eyes and said calmly, "I have stopped, Angulimala. When will you stop?" That one sentence broke something open in Angulimala's heart. He dropped his weapons, bowed to the Buddha, and begged to become a monk. Over time, he truly transformed. Yet even as a monk, he faced nightmares and guilt from his past. People threw stones at him, cursed him, reminded him of his sins. Still, the Buddha told him to continue practicing, continue purifying, continue forgiving himself. Angulimala eventually attained enlightenment. The lesson here is not just about dramatic change, but about the power of inner transformation through forgiveness and dedication. If someone with such a painful past could find peace, so can we. If his mind could settle, ours too can rest, when we stop clinging to the emotional storms inside us. So if guilt keeps you awake at night, sit with it kindly. Ask, what can I forgive today? If regret lingers, ask, what can I learn? And if fear is loud, breathe gently into the present moment where nothing is yet written. In that space, peace is not just possible, it is waiting. Let us now turn to the sixth reflection, Buddha's teachings on suffering at night, how to sleep through emotional pain. This section touches the deepest part of the human heart. Those nights when sleep becomes impossible not because of noise or distraction, but because of grief, heartbreak, or a profound sense of loneliness. Many people find that the silence of the night amplifies emotional wounds. Memories surface, regrets replay, and a hollow ache replaces the calm that sleep is supposed to bring. But Buddhism, with its deep compassion and timeless wisdom, teaches us that we do not have to run from this suffering. The Buddha never denied the existence of pain. In fact, he placed it at the very center of his teachings through the first noble truth, dukkha, the universal experience of suffering. Rather than fighting against emotional pain, Buddhism invites us to sit with it gently. When sorrow arises at night, instead of suppressing it or becoming overwhelmed, we can name it silently. Sadness is here, grief is present, I feel lonely. This is called mindful acknowledgement. It creates space between us and our pain, allowing us to observe rather than drown in it. The next step is compassion. Just as the Buddha taught loving kindness, metta, toward all beings, he also encouraged us to extend it to ourselves. Placing a gentle hand over the heart or breathing with awareness, we can silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be kind to this pain," or "May I find peace in this moment." This is not a forced positivity, but a sacred act of softening the sharp edges of our inner wounds. As we breathe and observe, the emotional pain may not vanish instantly, but it begins to lose its grip. Over time, it moves through us, instead of getting stuck within us. Another powerful Buddhist method is anicca, the contemplation of impermanence. All things, even grief, change. The pain that feels endless at midnight will shift by morning. Understanding this truth helps us hold suffering more lightly. Lastly, the practice of letting go, visagga, teaches us that we need not carry what the present moment does not require. Through slow breath and gentle awareness, we can silently release thoughts, feelings, or memories that no longer serve our peace. Night after night, this mindful approach becomes a path, not just to sleep, but to emotional healing. So if you find yourself awake, heart aching, eyes wet with unspoken sorrow, know this: you are not broken, you are not alone, and you are not failing. You are simply human, and the Dhamma offers you a candle to hold in the dark. Let that light guide you, not to escape your pain, but to sit with it long enough to understand it, love it, and finally, let it rest. As we now arrive at the seventh reflection, why you must train for sleep during the day, not at night, the Buddhist way, we begin to understand that peaceful sleep is not something we earn only at bedtime, it is the result of how we live moment to moment throughout the day. In modern life, many try to force rest at night by creating the perfect sleeping environment, dim lights, white noise, expensive mattresses, but overlook a far more essential truth: the state of our sleep begins with the state of our mind during the day. The Buddha offered profound insight into this when he said, "One who guards the mind by day sleeps peacefully at night." This guidance is simple yet transformative. It teaches us that our thoughts, words, and actions during daylight hours leave deep impressions on our mind that resurface when we lie down. If we speak harshly, engage in gossip, consume disturbing media, or eat heavy foods mindlessly, these choices ripple into our nervous system, creating unrest that echoes into the night. Similarly, if we entertain envy, greed, or anxiety during the day, the mind carries that same emotional turbulence into the stillness of sleep. In Buddhism, this is understood as mental karma, cause and effect, not in a cosmic sense, but within the subtle habits of our inner world. Peaceful speech leads to a peaceful mind. Gentle thoughts plant seeds of rest. Conscious consumption of food, sounds, images, and conversations becomes the groundwork for a calm inner atmosphere. Buddhist monks train their minds in this way, not to sleep better, but to live better, and as a result, their sleep becomes natural, undisturbed. To live with mindfulness during the day is to sow the soil of restful nights. The teachings remind us that rest is not an escape from life's noise but the natural outcome of a quiet heart. This leads us to a powerful story from the time of the Buddha that illustrates this truth beautifully. One day, the Buddha was traveling with a group of monks and stopped near a village for alms. Among them was a young monk named Meghiya, who had recently been ordained. Meghiya was eager to meditate and asked the Buddha's permission to practice alone under a mango grove near the river. The Buddha allowed it, seeing his enthusiasm. But when Meghiya returned, he looked disturbed. Despite sitting in a beautiful place with full intention, his mind had been flooded with distracting thoughts, desire, regret, and worry. He couldn't find peace. The Buddha gently smiled and explained, "Meghiya, the mind does not settle just because the surroundings are quiet. First, the mind must be trained in loving kindness, compassion, and self-reflection during the day. Only then will it be calm when you sit, when you walk, and when you lie down to sleep." He went on to list 5 qualities needed for a monk to find inner stillness, beginning with the company of good friends and the nourishment of wholesome thoughts throughout the day. This story shows us that peace at night is not a switch we flip, it is a consequence of inner discipline, cultivated through our daily life. If our minds are filled with conflict, regret, or overstimulation by bedtime, sleep becomes a battlefield. But if we have spent the day living mindfully, speaking truthfully, consuming gently, acting kindly, then the mind finds no reason to resist stillness. So the next time you struggle to sleep, don't just look at your night routine. Look at your daytime habits. Did your words build harmony? Did your meals nourish or disturb? Did your thoughts flow toward peace or cling to chaos? To follow the Buddhist way is not about perfection, but about awareness. Day by day, moment by moment, we can begin to train our minds toward stillness, not only for better sleep, but for a more awakened life. When we live in this way, night becomes a soft continuation of a calm day, and rest comes not from effort, but from harmony. As we gently arrive at the end of this meaningful exploration into the Buddhist path to peaceful sleep, it's clear that rest is not merely a physical act, but a reflection of our inner world, our thoughts, our emotions, our karma, and our daily choices. From the silent simplicity of a monk's evening routine to the powerful truth that sleep is earned by day and not begged for at night, each lesson offers us a deeper understanding of why we lie awake and how we can begin to heal. We've explored the mental chatter that steals our silence, the emotional wounds that linger in the dark, the weight of guilt and regret that press against our pillows, and the karmic whispers that insomnia often carries. We've looked at how Buddhism doesn't shame our restlessness, it meets it with wisdom, compassion, and the tools to gently untangle its roots. Whether you're struggling with grief, guilt, racing thoughts, or just the busyness of modern life, know that you are not alone. The Buddha's teachings remind us that peace is not found in fighting the mind but in befriending it, watching it, softening it, and walking with it gently. Now, I warmly invite you to take this conversation beyond the screen. Have you ever faced nights where your mind simply wouldn't rest? Do you carry emotional weights that make sleep feel impossible? Have Buddhist practices, or any spiritual methods, helped you find comfort or stillness in the dark hours? I would love to hear your story, your voice matters. Share your experience in the comments below. Whether it's pain, insight, or a question that lingers, this is a space where you can be heard and supported. Let this channel become a community where we help each other grow, one peaceful night at a time. If you found even one moment of clarity, peace, or inspiration in this video, please support our journey by clicking the like button, it truly helps more than you know. Don't forget to subscribe for more calm, insightful content rooted in Buddhist wisdom. And if you know someone who struggles with sleep or inner peace, consider sharing this video with them. They might be waiting for just this message. Thank you for watching. May your nights be peaceful, and your heart be light.